Ask the Messengers, the program that deals with substance abuse, real people telling real stories. Hosted by Pastor Lester Lewis, co-host Sharlese Wilkerson and Leroy Carey. Where there is addiction, there is a chance for recovery. We're trying to help save lives on Ask the Messengers.
At first it was just supposed to be like, oh, this is what we were doing to make money, because he wasn't making enough money to pay for his child support and everything. And after he started to like make me do it every night and stuff, I started to realize, but in my head, I drink, I do whatever drugs he had just to like clear my mind so I wouldn't think about it. Because at the time I felt like he was perfect to me. You know, he was there and he'd tell me like, hey, you know, your mom doesn't love you, no one loves you because they're not looking for you and they don't care where you sleep, and like, you live with me and I take care of you. What are you gonna do without me? Because you can't get an apartment on your own, you can't get a hotel. It was basically like I needed him, and like I said, I felt that I loved him.
Today on Ask the Messengers, we talk with survivors, providers, and activists who are here to let the world know that humans are not for sale. Also on today's show, our co-host Sharlese Wilkerson and our street reporter Lashon Battle sit and go one-on-one with Khia Fry from Breaking the Silence program, who brings awareness to human trafficking throughout the city of Detroit. But first, let's go to our street reporter Lashon Battle as she sits and talks with Dr. Tina Parkman, who is the director of Exit Care, a program that is located in Wayne County and helps those who are looking for help.
I'm sitting here today with Dr. Parkman, who's the director in human trafficking. Tell us about your program.
My program is called Exit Care. Exit Care is something that I founded because people have a problem with learning how to end things. So I feel like we have to become strategists and learn how to end to begin. One thing about life, you know, we have to move from shame to healthy shame. And some people have done some things in their life that they're not, you know, happy about. And when they stay in shame, they never recover from the blow of the trauma. So I'm a trauma expert. I'm a PhD in counseling, as well as a certified recovery coach. And I'm here to help people exit out of the things that they need to deal with. Because if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you.
So tell us a little about the program you're putting together today.
Well, today I decided to do proactive intervention for some of the people that have experienced these type of traumas, because of course, you know, even though they're not actively using, they're dry users because they never dealt with the addictive behavior. So being a therapist, I know that part. And so I catch the older girls that may have not been able to receive trauma-informed counseling in order to balance their life out. And I also catch the ones that's just starting. So in this game...
Now, when you say you catch them, how do you do that?
Well, we go out on the streets and we do outreaches, and we look for the young people in trap houses, just as the one we're in front of right now. And unfortunately, they're in trap houses and they are in a situation of human sex trafficking.
Can you tell me a situation where you went and got somebody out of trap house? What was it like? What was the environment like?
Well, I had a program on East Warren called Agape House, and one of my young ladies had an issue with her parents, so she was just there temporary. And of course, you know, whenever you get false promises, you feel like your condition can be better. And maybe from rebellion, you know, maybe she didn't want to wash the dishes, whatever it was, whatever she was running from was what she was running to was worse than what she was running from. And unfortunately, they had her in a trap house, and we had to go to the site and call the police and get her out. And not only that, find her suitable housing and give her the trauma treatment she needed to start and redefine her life and purpose again. And to this day, that child was able to reset her life and get back on track. And unfortunately, there's others out here, and 200 to 300% of the girls are sex workers, and they go to recruit other girls because of the options that they have.
So what do you think the city of Detroit is going to do about this?
The city of Detroit has to expose it. Now we're dealing with exit. When you expose it, it brings healing. And we can be able to redefine the individuals that have been hit by this epidemic that is so secretly not disclosed. And unfortunately, when we have the car show, that's when it's moving the fastest. And I think that it's time for us to get together, collaborate with the community, the churches in this area, and take our children back off the streets and not allow drugs, alcohol, and predatory behavior to take them out.
There's multiple ways to human trafficking. Andrea is going to give us her story. Tell us, how did you get involved and how old were you when you first started human trafficking?
I was 18 years old and I was approached by another female that was from Las Vegas, and she knew that I was having a hard time dealing with my parents, and she knew that I was out on my own, so she took advantage of that. And she told me that I could go to Las Vegas and I could make some money, and all I would have to do was turn tricks. And at the time I was very desperate. I was young, I was naive, and I ended up going to Las Vegas with her and ended up being with a pimp. And I was stuck in a pimp situation for about 6 months. I walked the stroll, I worked casinos, I did everything under the sun.
So when you say you was up under a pimp, how was that lifestyle with you?
It was horrible. He beat me up constantly. I just had a really horrible time. He had me on drugs. When I came home, I was 100 pounds.
When you say he had you on drugs, what type of drugs?
At the time, it was ecstasy pills. That was the big thing at that time.
And what did that make you feel like?
It just made me feel numb. I normally would take the ecstasy pills before I would go out and walk the street, and it would just make me feel like I could do anything, and I had no feelings really.
Did you ever try to get out on your own?
I actually did. The first time that I left them, that was the time that I got out. It was 6 months in, and I actually ran away from the hotel that we were staying in. So that was my way out.
And where did you run to?
I didn't know where I was going because I really didn't know Las Vegas that well. So I ended up just walking to where I knew, which was Las Vegas Boulevard. And I actually ran into a Greyhound bus driver, which I thought he was, he was a trick, and I was just going to get some money out of him and try to get on the bus. And the whole time I was talking to him, I didn't even know he was a Greyhound bus driver. He took me somewhere and he, talked to me, and he wanted to know, where was I headed, what was going on with me. I told him my story, and he revealed to me, okay, I'm a Greyhound bus driver and I'm actually going through Detroit, and I will get you on that bus and get you back home.
You have an interesting t-shirt on. Could you tell us what that is about?
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background and up on what the shirt is about, we basically have started a campaign to break the silence around human trafficking.
Stay tuned for more of Ask the Messengers.
I was in a sex trafficking victim for a long time. So my drug of choice kind of helped me get girls. I used to be the ringleader of it, and I eventually got caught by FBI, but that's why I'm in here now. I'm proud that it happened because I'm very tired of the life, but I have a lot of guilt for turning girls out and making, and it was all basically to keep the drug up. I get your drug, you give me the money. It was a continuous circle. Getting banned and watching out for police at the hotel and all that. And then I ended up getting so good at it, I made my own website and business off of it. And FBI caught up. Like, I was a savage, but I thought I was doing so good with all the money, but I lost my kids. I worked hard for my house. I had paid for a house and I had Section 8. I lost both of those. I knew kingpins, and I was really getting trained to be a queen pin, and when I got caught, it was really the best experience of my life because I'm in a program, I let God in my life, and it's been such an experience. Like, he showed me who I thought I was something, and I humbled myself, and he shows me it's so much more out there. Like, I'm worth more than that. I wake up loving myself, I repented, and that's what it's all about. Like, really let God lead your life.
Human trafficking generates at least $150.2 billion in illegal profits each year. Of the reported cases of human trafficking, Michigan is ranked number 2 in our country, and California is ranked number 1.
My name is Sharlese from Ask the Messengers. We have Sean here, our street reporter, and our guest today is Khia. She's here to talk about human trafficking. Khia, how are you today?
Fabulous. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. You have an interesting T-shirt on. Could you tell us what that is about?
Yes, so just to give you a little bit of background and bring you up on what the shirt is about, we basically have started a campaign to break the silence around human trafficking. And so we had, myself and India McKinney, who's my cousin, we continue to see so many women being abducted, and human trafficking is just on the rise. We wanted to do something about it. And so we started having an initiative to bring more awareness to the community, but we also wanted to be able to take action. So from there, we thought, like, what better way for us to be able to raise funds, to get resources and things like that, than by having shirts that we would have that said that humans are not for sale, because humans aren't for sale, and then it had the national hotline number on it as well.
So when you call the national hotline, is there someone that will answer that has been involved with human trafficking or anything like that? Or the hotline is for if you have any suspicions? I mean, what is the hotline exactly for?
It's actually for both. So if you have suspicion of any activity that's going on, you can call the hotline. And also if you are someone who's going through that as well, through human trafficking, and may want to get out, then that's the hotline that you also call as well.
So how many ways are there to human trafficking? Because we talk about, I've learned for myself that there's multiple ways. Talk about how many ways of human trafficking it is.
From what I know, there's 2 forms of human trafficking. One is labor trafficking, and then the other one is sex trafficking. That's the one that most people are familiar with. But labor trafficking as well is just anyone is being sold to produce some type of service without being paid. So human trafficking is just our modern day slavery, So those are the main 2 that I know, as far as coercion or being promised some type of money for whatever services, and of course, it not being rendered.
How many different ways can you or either tell our people that's watching what to look out for if you believe that you're a suspect of human trafficking?
Anyone who basically, from what I've learned, is that anyone who doesn't seem to have a say in what they're doing, have someone basically controlling them. Maybe they're not able to speak for themselves. Maybe they're isolated. Those are some ways. And then also...
That sounds like a pimp.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So now, what the public... we've been seeing so much stuff on Facebook about people getting snatched at malls, being abducted. What should we watch out for? I mean, should we watch out, what's on the rise? Because there's a variety of people that's doing this human trafficking, and it has no voice, no name on it.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring awareness, because we wanted to dispel a lot of the myths. You have the white van and, now the black van. But really, most people who go through the situation is through people that they already know. Sometimes it's family members, mothers, uncles. The people like that who are, regardless if it's drug use or that might be involved, and they're selling people, for into human trafficking. So we don't want to continue to have those myths that it's only the white vans that you need to look out for. You need to look out for anyone, really. We don't want to be afraid. We want to, be vigilant, though. You know what I'm saying? So just be aware of those people who might be older that want to continue to be around younger people or younger women. And then that's another thing. It's not just women. It's also young men, So we just have to be aware and have to be vigilant and just be watchful and intentional in the things that we do.
I attended an event at the church on human trafficking where I learned so much other stuff about human trafficking because I am a product of human trafficking now that I know because I've come from prostitution.
Okay.
Now, talk about, to me, okay, I hear you saying about what about the people that voluntarily human trafficking? How do we help them? How do you reach out to that person? Or do they even matter?
Oh yeah, they do matter. I think that's the thing. I think it's such a stigma and a stereotype on those who are involved in prostitution, but it's still a form of human trafficking. It's you're still selling yourself regardless if it's voluntary or involuntary. And so a lot of times I hear people diminishing the impact on what's going on simply because it's like blaming the person. Well, you voluntarily did this, so it's not the same thing, but actually it is. So to be able to reach out, I just say that, continue to give the information. People have to want to come on their own. You can't force anyone to change, but just let them know that there's other means. Like they don't have to sell themselves in order as a means to be able to provide for themselves.
What kind of information should people expect when we go to those town hall meetings?
So that's a great question. So we have law enforcement that's there straight from the FBI. So we have FBI victim specialists. So they have people that have boots on the ground and know exactly what's going on, and also resources like we had Wayne County Safe that actually came. So we have people that offer resources as well, and then nonprofit organizations that are out here on the ground combating, human trafficking. They're running with it every day in terms of making sure that people have the proper products that they need in order to be able to get off the streets. Like you were saying, how do we help those that are involved in prostitution? So they have the hygiene kits, the resource guides, all of that's on there. So we get a wealth of information.
So what's coming up next for you guys? What's coming up next?
So,
what do you like? What will your organization together? I know it's nonprofit, but what would y'all like to do?
So right now, what we like to do is have people take action. We don't want to just have an awareness panel where people just get information and then that's it. We want people to be involved, be vigilant in their community, be active in their community, and reach out to different resources. So that's what we plan on doing.
And that's what we do too at Ask the Messengers. I am the street reporter, Lashon Battle. Human trafficking is a part of my story. Ask the Messengers van is always on the street looking for people who was just like me, to let her know that, or him, that it's a way out. So yeah.
That's great.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay, we'll be back.
Won't you help us to do exactly what our motto is, and that is to help save lives? Won't you send a generous donation to the information there on the screen? We would love to have you as part of our partnership to help save lives. You may not be able to go out in the street, you may not be able to come here to the show, but you can send your donation that helps us save lives. We'd like to thank all of our guests who shared their stories on the show today, and those activists and programs that are available to those who are caught in human trafficking and their families. Humans are not for sale. By no measure is it okay. Those who adhere to the law regarding the 13th Amendment, you know that humans cannot be sold. It is against the law. It abolished slavery, but yet there are those who are criminals who take human lives and sell them. We want you to know that Ask the Messengers is here as a resource to you and to your family. You can contact us and we will help you in any way that we can. So on today's show, you've heard so very many stories, but we're going to close with one last young lady who's going to share her story of human trafficking and how there is hope and light at the end of the tunnel. I'm Lester Lewis, your host, and we believe that love is what love does, and we want to love you to life. We'll see you next time on Ask the Messengers.
I was Actually, so I was on the east side of Detroit. I was in my car and I was like very incoherent. I was like looking to score some drugs. I was at a gas station and there were two gentlemen who told me that they could get me drugs, and then one of them hopped in my car, put me in the passenger seat, and then kidnapped me in my own car. I was then taken to Grosse Pointe Woods, or it was somewhere in the Grosse Pointe area, and then I was sold to this Italian man who kept me in his basement, and they all did what they wanted with me, and that's what, they fed me drugs, and then they just did whatever they wanted with me, so.
Now, tell us how did you get out of that situation?
So, I mean, my only like explanation, like for me, is like God. Like God got me out of the situation 100%, but I was, they were transporting me to another location, and for whatever reason, the guy who was taking me let me drive my car. And he was like, and I think they thought because I was so hooked on drugs that I was just gonna do whatever they asked me to. And it was like, I got in my car and I was following him to another location in Detroit. And it was like God spoke to me and was like, don't follow, like you gotta leave, you gotta get home. So like I turned the opposite way, I got on the highway, I went to my mom's house and I called treatment that day and got back into treatment.
With all of the things that's happening with human trafficking in the news, what would be your suggestion to a young woman who may think it can't happen to me? What would you say to them?
First of all, like don't think that you're an exception. I never thought that it could happen to me. I didn't think that somebody would just kidnap me in the middle of a busy gas station where there's people around. I think that when we're on drugs and we're using alcohol, our minds are so clouded and we think that we're like invincible, right? That like none of these things are gonna happen. But for those who have been through it and like make it out on the other side, like my suggestion to you is to like seek some kind of treatment. I see a therapist weekly. I have resources through Turning Point, and share your story with somebody else, because there's so many women who go through this, and especially like younger teenagers who are being sold into this industry. And like I just thank God that like I made it out of that, and like I'm able to share that with another person, but like don't think it can't happen to you. I never thought that I would be, not me, you know what I mean? I had the attitude, it's not me, it's not gonna be me. And then here I am locked in a basement, you know what I mean? It's instant.